What's going on, everybody? It's Kmplxity with a lasting opinion. Today we're going to be going over the lawsuit that Mizkif has filed against Emiru AsmondGold and OTK. Right before we get into this, I just want to go ahead and say, if you're not really interested in listening to somebody go over a lawsuit and, basically do some fact checking, a little bit of law reading and stuff of that nature, go ahead and click off now. I totally understand it's not for everybody, but I absolutely love this shit. Like one of my most favorite criminal attorneys says, there's nothing like a good murder, because with a good murder, you have with a murder, you have a puzzle to figure out, right? And this is just stuff that I love. This is stuff that I like to watch and go over and research. You will see sometimes I'm going to be cutting over to Mizkif's response to the allegations, because going through this as I was blacking out some of the last names and some of the addresses and stuff of that nature, I did read and see that Mizkif has already in this lawsuit lied about certain things, claiming that some things didn't happen that in his own fucking response he did say happened. Lastly, I also want to give a massive shout out to the homeboy Decentralized Info, who actually got me these links. He's also helped me with some other things as well. So if you guys enjoy this, or you guys want to go ahead and support the channel, if this is something that you guys like, you like to listen to somebody go ahead and go over this stuff that might be boring for you, but entertaining when somebody else covers it, smash that like, leave a comment on what you think is going to happen or what you think about this in general, and let's get right into this, okay? So as we can see here, this is the this is the cover page in the United States District Court for the Western District of Texas, Austin Division. We have Matthew Ronaldo. I'm just going to call him Ronaldo from right now, because Renudo, whatever. And Mizkif Enterprise is suing Emily, which aka Emiru, and Zach, aka AsmondGold, OTK Media Incorporated, One True King Mythic Talent Management Incorporated, and King Gambling Labs. Now, one thing that I have been hearing about is I believe that Mizkif is actually using a fake name in this situation here. Matthew Renato, I believe, isn't his actual name, which is a little fucked up in my personal opinion. Like, if that is true, how are you going to use a fake name, yet you're filing a lawsuit against other people where their place of business, their address, the place of business and where they work, the address is out there, their first, last, and middle name is out there, yet you're going to turn around and use a fake name? Again, that's just what I've been hearing. A couple of other people have been saying this, so it is what it is. Pieces of shit gonna be pieces of shit. Now, this does turn around and goes to plaintiff's original complaint. Says, come on now, plaintiffs Matthew Ronaldo and Mizkif Enterprises LLC complain about Emiru and AsmondGold, OTK Media, etc., etc. Now, they have the party's jurisdiction and venue. It's saying that Mizkif is a natural person and a resident of LA, California, and this is where things kind of start getting a little boring. Like, if you haven't really gotten into this, if you don't really know about lawsuits or about court cases and stuff, a lot of it is fluff. You kind of have to, every individual line item is pretty much how it's going to go here, where they're like, we are suing this person who can be found at this address, who has been served on this day, and that could be an entire paragraph. And that's why sometimes you have hundreds, if not thousands of documents or pages. Now, it says Mizkif Enterprise is a limited liability company, etc., etc., etc. OTK is in Texas, etc., etc., etc. It turns around, and this is where we're going to get into just pretty much skipping this, but I want to read this just to let you know that I'm not really skipping anything interesting, right? It says, Mythic is a Delaware corporation with its principal place of business in Texas. Accordingly, it is a citizen of Delaware and of Texas for purposes of diversity jurisdiction. Now, diversity jurisdiction simply means that they are filing to go ahead and have it be in the court to be held, or the case to be held in a separate state, because it exceeds a certain amount of money. The lawsuit, it does. As it stated previously, Mizkif resides in Los Angeles. He's filing suit in Texas, and the reason he's filing suit in Texas is due to the diversity jurisdiction. So the lawsuit has to reach over, I believe it's $76,000 in an effort for them to be allowed to do this. So it goes on to say, Mythic may be served with process through its registered agent for service, Mohammed blank 1 Cholsom blank Suite blank Texas 78861. Now, this pretty much goes on for a couple of paragraphs. King is a Delaware blank blank blank. Then we have Emiru blank blank blank. Then we have, you know, freaking AsmondGold blank blank blank. The court has jurisdiction over this lawsuit because it exceeds 75. Okay, I said 67. It's actually 75,000 due to 28 USC 1332 venue, blah blah blah. So now we're going to get into what's called the factual background, which is basically it's the way that the lawyers turn around and fluff up their client. They lay out a foundation of this is the person, this is how good they are, this is all their thing, this is their reputation basically, because this is a defamation suit. And so they're laying out a foundation as to how the comments that were made or the statements that were made defamed and took away from the character, the view that was on Mizkif. So we are going to get into this because it has to do with the, you know, following complaints. So it says factual background. For the past decade, Mizkif has been working tirelessly to build a career in the demanding live stream and content creation field, primarily on YouTube, a video sharing platform, and Twitch, a live streaming platform. Now, this isn't incorrect. This is very obviously correct. We all know that he's, you know, view hungry. He's even said it himself. He's done a whole lot of crazy things. But here's the other thing. Here's the other issue about this, right? Once you start filing suit, we have this little thing called discovery. Now, discovery means that as long as you're able to prove a necessity for a certain item, such as emails, text messages, you know, Snapchats, Facebook messages, Twitter messages, YouTube messages, if that's even still a thing, you know, all of it, as long as you can prove a necessity for it, all of it will be, you know, put out there. And a lot of the things too is that on AsmondGold and Emiru's side, they can use clips of Mizkif saying his own shit, where he's turned around and, you know, where he was talking about telling Maya how he used to get upset that she would, you know, have better streams than him, that she would have more viewers than him. And with Emiru too, all these different things. So when he turns around and he's saying, oh, you know, he's working tirelessly to build a career. Well, yeah, he was working tirelessly. He was also being abusive to people that he was in a relationship with, and that stuff was caught on stream. So that could also bite him in the ass as well. It wasn't like he was putting in all of this hard work and that was it, right? It wasn't like he was doing the whole 8 to 10 to 12-hour days and wasn't doing some, you know, backhanded snake ass shit to people or just being completely a piece of shit to them. And so that could also bite him in the ass here. And that's kind of the problem when it comes to being a bad person, a shitty human being, and filing a defamation suit, because the only way defamation actually works is that whatever is being asserted about the person has to be in enough of a contrast to their perceived view by people. For instance, if somebody was to turn around and say that, you know, that Keanu Reeves was a rapist, right? Never has he been accused of it before. Never has he been convicted of it or anything of that nature. And the public sentiment is that he isn't, like, let's be realistic. If there's one of the few people in the entire world that most people don't hate, that could be considered, you know, a really amazing human being, it's going to be Keanu Reeves. So defamation, that person would be able to get hit with defamation because what they're asserting is so so different in contrast to the person's character, to the person's view by the general public. Now, whereas with Mizkif, the fact that they said that he was a sexual assaulter, the fact that they said that he was a bad person, the fact that they said that he was threatening, all these different things, Mizkif already has a long-standing history of being this way. He's had multiple allegations come out against him. Even after Emiru, more allegations came out against him. Not all of them, you know, were holding well water. They were, you know, a lot of them were treading water more than anything else. And there's a countless amount of clips. I mean, you guys saw it with me and Vixie when we were reacting to it. There was a countless amount of clips where he was doing things that were bad. So when it comes to defamation, when you build up your client to be like this, they were this amazing human being working tirelessly, doing all of these collabs, being a bright light, winning all of these awards and stuff of that nature. If your client doesn't hold up to that when it comes to the scrutiny of the court or scrutiny of the evidence against him, you know, it's going to be a whole of a hell of a lot harder because I don't think there's too many men and or women who would be in a juror and watch somebody throw even, you know, just two bags, Starbucks bags into someone's face that they're supposed to be in a relationship with and not think to themselves that this isn't a bad person, you know? If it happened the one time, you could call it a fluke, but there's plenty of freaking clips that it happened and plenty of people who most likely would be willing to testify. And the other thing about it too is that on their behalf, on AsmondGold and Emiru's behalf, they have the ability to call witnesses to testify to, you know, his character due to the simple fact that this is a defamation suit. I could, again, you know, I'm a layman, I could be wrong, but it's not. I mean, if we just simply look at the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial, there was plenty of people who were called in that never saw any of the abuse, but simply lived in the apartments or who knew Johnny or anything. I mean, hell, his own lawyer was called in based off of the statements that he was said, and they even asked if he saw anything. So you can bring in character witnesses to combat a person's to combat a person's combatants that they are a good human being or that they're not a bad person. Anyways, he goes on to say, though years of effort, Mizkif built his online presence under the handle Mizkif, leading him to a multi-million follower presence across various social media platforms. Mizkif's entire professional life has, during all relevant times, centered around streaming and content creation. Mizkif became one of the most successful creators on Twitch with a following of 2.2 million viewers as of October 2025. He was known for collaborating with other streamers, playing video games, and discussing various issues with his followers and subscribers through Twitch's chat feature. I'm going to be honest, I only know that he played games. That's it. Like, I don't think I've ever seen him on the front page of like YouTube talking about like issues. Like what issues? Like gaming issues with OTK, Twitch issues, and considering he caused a lot of the Twitch issues, I'm not exactly sure where they're having there. And then it says in 2021, he won Best Chatter Streamer at the Streamer Awards, which we're going to also be real here. Who the fuck cares? That doesn't really mean anything. Best just chatting streamer. Again, this is kind of something that they tag on to just be like, this is his reputation. This is what his reputation was. And this is the damage they did to said reputation. The community that Mizkif developed, along with his industry connections with other streamers, his personal reputation, and his business goodwill, allowed him to develop a successful business with multiple income streams from subscribers, a placement on his videos, sponsorships, and more. Now, this is an interesting thing here, where he says his personal reputation and his business goodwill. So his business goodwill. The other thing about this is that they're going to be saying like, oh, he did all these collabs with these different streamers and et cetera, et cetera. But a lot of the people who, well, I'm not going to say a lot, but a good amount of the people who he streamed with, they have come out and talked about him being a bad person, and along with also him, like some of the people he was in a relationship with. Hell, there was even a Japanese streamer that came out after Emiru's live, where she, you know, made all of these allegations, who talked about how he was a bad person over there, how he was just disrespectful to the Japanese culture, he was an asshole, all this other stuff. So it's like he's not even just a bad person in the United States, he's also a bad person across the sea. So it goes on to say, in 2020, along with certain other high-profile streamers, Mizkif founded the One True King media brand and incorporated Defendant OTK, which he remained a part owner of to this day. Defendant Emiru joined the OTK ownership in 2022 through the acts and omissions described below. Defendants Emiru, AsmondGold, and OTK, acting in concert, wrongfully and baselessly accused Mizkif of serious criminal activity for no purpose other than to harm him, his reputation, and his business, and wrest him from control of companies that he helped build. Okay, first issue here. Acting in concert, which means that if you're acting in concert, it simply means that you planned it, right? So what they're alleging, to my understanding, is that Emiru AsmondGold and the corporate members of OTK acted in concert, meaning together, meaning as in planned it together, to basically accuse him of a serious crime. That is, as far as I understand, what acting in concert means in a legal definition here, right? That they planned it. Now, if he can't prove that they planned this, you're already in a negative here. And the other thing about it, right, this is where discovery comes in. He is going to subpoena the communications, all communications between OTK, AsmondGold, and Emiru in an effort to go ahead and see whether or not they did act in concert together and to turn around and make these accusations. Now, acting in concert could be as high as, hey, we should all make videos going against Mizkif, to as little as, I'm going to make a video going against Mizkif. I'd like you to react to it, etc., etc. Now, that might not sound like they're acting in concert, but I'm saying it could be the most minimal, most basic definition of acting in concert. Now, obviously, if there's text messages between them saying, hey, we should do this together, that's an issue. But if Emiru was simply saying, I'm going live, and Asmond turned around and said, I'll cover it on my channel, that's not a conspiracy. That's not acting in concert. That's just a communication. That's just them talking. But it would be up to a judge or a jury to decide whether or not that constitutes as them acting in concert. Again, this is all layman's understanding, but as far as I know of the multitude of court cases that I've watched, whether it was criminal or civil, that's my understanding of what it means to act in concert with one another. It goes on to say, Mizkif and defendant Emiru began dating in 2022. The relationship was not easy on either side. They would routinely face harassment from Emiru's stalkers, or from Emiru's followers, some of who were stalking Emiru. They got into arguments regularly, and Emiru threatened to kill herself in many of these arguments. Now, if we pause here, remember how Mizkif said that he had multitude of examples of her threatening to kill herself throughout these arguments, but yet the only one that he ever showed was the fact that she said that she wanted to kill herself based off of, or I should say, during the time that she found out that someone was breaking into her, like someone had come back and broken into the house that they were living in. And she said that she couldn't handle all of the craziness, all of the stress, etc., etc., and that she wanted to end herself. That was not in tandem with them having an argument. She was saying that because of the stress that was being put on her, the stress of knowing that this, fourth or fifth or sixth time that a stalker has come to their house in an effort to go ahead and harass her. All right, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at what it is that he said, because I don't like to just turn around and say something without bringing the facts with it,
Violent. She would throw clothes or plushies at me.
That's never gonna get old.
And I punched holes in the walls or slammed doors in aggression.
Now that right there, I mean, this is fantastic. I was literally just trying to find the part where he put out the text message, but that right there, and this being on his own fucking channel and many of people archiving it and everything, that right there, that clip alone is insane that he would want to file a defamation suit. She would throw shirts and plushies at me, and I would punch holes in the wall. What do you think a jury is going to hear from that? That you were both aggressive? That you were both abusive? Now, don't get me wrong. It is a bad thing for you to be throwing anything at your partner in anger, even if it's something as gentle as a plushie, because you never know. It might turn from a plushie to a phone to a brick, right? You never really know how it can go. But if we look at it on its face, she threw a plushie, he punched a hole in the wall. And most people in their mind are going to think to themselves, well, if he's willing to punch a hole in the wall, what else is he willing to punch?
One time did say I was going to kill myself during an argument, but Emmy did this as well numerous times. She would constantly say she's going to kill herself in arguments, and I have a picture where while I had a gun pointed at one of her...
So remember, he is specifying and contextualizing this text message as her saying she wanted to kill herself in an argument. not due to stress of another person, another stalker breaking into their house, but the fact that she said it in an argument, solely A B conversation.
Stalkers who came to my house while she was in Kansas. She told me she was going to kill herself out of aggression of the situation while it was happening.
So now he turns around and says, out of aggression of the situation. He has spent so much time bitching and moaning and complaining about the amount of stalkers that were harassing them, right? As just a person who knows very little about this, right? Take yourself and take all knowledge you have about this out right now and ask yourself this, because obviously it's going to come forward. This is like the third or fourth stalker that Emiru has had. And this entire video is up for grabs in the court system, and they can use every single time he talked about a stalker coming over and going after Emiru and causing them problems, right? If you were to hear this, that there was a stalker, another 4th, 5th, 6th person who showed up to the house, do you honestly think that you yourself would believe that Emiru is saying she wants to kill herself out of aggression? Out of aggression that a stalker once again has come to her house. Like, that makes zero freaking sense. Even myself, I'm taking all knowledge that I can have, just basic common sense. Listening to this makes absolutely no sense. Why would she want to off herself out of aggression towards a stalker? And not only that, but we're also taking it away from Mizkif. She wasn't saying that she wants to offer herself out of aggression towards Mizkif. Even in his own explanation, he even said she was doing it in response to the situation. So he's already turned around and ended, like he's already turned around and proven what his previous statement false. And over here, he stated that she threatened to kill herself in many of these arguments. Yet he hasn't proven that. He hasn't shown that at all. And the only evidence he's shown is that she said she wanted to kill herself because of the situation with a stalker, not because of any situation with Mizkif.
She told me she was going to kill herself out of aggression of the situation while it was happening. This is the situation. I told her that a stalker's at the house. I'm freaking out. What is happening? Can you call me? I'll call you. I literally want to kill myself. I can't take this anymore. I feel so alone and like a problem.
And that right there is another issue. I feel so alone and like a problem. So she's not saying she wants to kill herself because she's mad at Mizkif. She's not saying she wants to kill herself because she hates Mizkif. She's saying she wants to kill herself because she feels alone. She feels lonely and she feels like she's nothing but a fucking problem. Okay? This is already, we're not even into the complaint portion yet. This is just his background. This is literally just the background, him laying the foundation for the complaints. And he's already 0 for 2 at this point. All right. Now it goes on to say, Emiru would dress and behave in ways that Mizkif thought made her unsafe in the light of ongoing stalking from some of her followers. Now, is this true? Sure, obviously, because it's an opinion of Mizkif's. Does it really matter? Unless he can show that he was legitimately trying to help and she was very blatantly going against it, wearing low cut shirts and, acting in certain ways. And even at that point, at some point in time, you do have to curtail your sympathy, because it's if you're going around with it all hanging out there, you're obviously going to get unwanted attention. Not saying that anything should ever happen to you, but you should be mindful of the type of attention you're attracting. But this doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter at all. She could have been walking down the street butt-ass booty naked. It doesn't mean that anybody has the right to turn around and harass her or stalk her or attack her or assault her. So this is completely unnecessary. At the end of the relationship, Emiru expressed her desire to marry Mizkif and raise children within the next 5 years. Mizkif contemplated the tumultuous nature of their relationship to that point, could not agree to do so. He called off the relationship and moved from Austin to Los Angeles in January 2025. Now, this is also going to be an issue because of all the crazy amount of text messages that he was sending to her for months on end, talking about how he wanted to marry her, wanted to raise kids with her, wanted to be with her, how he made a huge, massive mistake, etc., etc., etc. So this here is him saying that he contemplated the tumultuous nature of the relationship and just could not do it. He also said that he went ahead and handed this piece of paper back to Emiru, and so it's going to be a he said, she said thing. If she doesn't actually have that, or if he doesn't have a copy of it, there's no way to prove that this actually occurred unless she testifies and says that it did happen. And then the other thing about it too is that people are going to say, okay, so you're saying you couldn't be with her, you didn't want to be with her, yet we have 7 months of freaking multi-paragraph text messages of you telling her that you love her, you still love her, she's the only one for you, etc., 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 with absolutely no response whatsoever from Emiru. We're 0 for 3, at least in my opinion. 10 months later, on October 24th, 2025, Emiru hosted a live stream on Twitch. On the live stream, she lied and baselessly accused Mizkif of psychological and domestic abuse, stalking and harassment, sexual assault, and threats of blackmail. Well, out of all of this, the only one that he didn't say occurred was the sexual assault. That's the only one he didn't confirm. Psychological abuse, right? Punching of the wall, screaming, the fury of text messages, the I want to kill myself. That's all psychological abuse. Domestic abuse, punching holes in the wall, screaming and yelling, those fall under domestic abuse. Domestic abuse does not simply mean that beating somebody. Now, this is being filed in Texas, so probably would have to look up Texas law on what domestic and psychological abuse actually is. All right, so this is chapter 10 of the Texas Code of Criminal Prosecution. This is crimes related to family violence, stalking, and sexual assault. Crimes motivated by bias or prejudice, part 1, statute and case law. So we're going to come down here to family violence because it has been renamed, as a lot of these different things do end up getting renamed, from domestic violence, family violence, etc., etc. So this is Texas Code of Criminal Prosecution, Article 42.013. There's entirely possible that there's other ones out there, but here we go. For offense, and by other ones, I mean other iterations, but this is 2025 iteration of Texas Family Violence Code. An act by a member or family or household against another member of the family or household that is intended to result in physical harm, bodily injury, assault, or sexual assault that is a threat that reasonably places the member in fear of immediate physical harm, bodily injury, assault, or sexual assault, but does not include defensive measures to protect oneself. Now, there was an or here. So let me read this again. I'm going to read it a little slower for you guys, okay? Family violence. An act by a member of family or household, so you don't have to be related. You could be living in the same house, against another member of the family or household that is intended to result in physical harm. So you're meaning to do this, and it has to result in physical harm, bodily injury, assault, or sexual assault, or that it is a threat that is reasonably places the member in fear of imminent physical harm, bodily injury, assault, or sexual assault, but does not include defensive measures to protect oneself. So basically, what this is saying is domestic violence, aka family violence, is the immediate physical assault of somebody, or the threat that can be reasonably perceived by the person of physical violence, either getting punched in the face or someone punching a wall, which could be taken as a threatening manner by any reasonable person, that they would then become the wall. You see see what it is? That's always been domestic violence law for, well, I'm not going to say always, but in the last 2 decades, that's pretty much what domestic violence has been. Either you were physically assaulted, or you reasonably felt your physical well-being was threatened by the person. Screaming, throwing stuff, breaking stuff, all of these types of things are also domestic violence because it puts the person in fear of physical violence. Now, it goes on to say abuse, as the term is defined by Texas Code 261.001, by a member of a family or household towards a child of the family or household. So we don't really have to matter about that. Here we go. Dating violence, which is an act by an individual that is against another individual with whom that person has or has had a dating relationship. So whether you are in a relationship or you were in a relationship, and intended to result in physical harm, bodily injury, assault, or sexual assault, or a threat that reasonably places the individual in fear of imminent physical harm, bodily injury, assault, or sexual assault, but does not include defensive measures to protect oneself. Again, so this is saying you could be married, they could be your immediate family, they could be just Joe Schmo renting a room, or they could be dating, or you could have been an ex of this person. And it doesn't mean that you have to get punched in the face. You could simply have a reasonable fear of the fact that you could be punched in the face. This is why him saying that he didn't that he didn't turn around and commit psychological or domestic abuse, that's going to be incredibly difficult for him to prove, considering he admitted to punching holes in the fucking wall. Not only that, but, we also have the story of him throwing the phone or the water bottle that resulted in Emiru getting a black eye. As far as the stalking and harassment goes, I mean, the text messages, they speak for themselves. And if she ended up blocking him on certain things and he was doing like a workaround and was texting or messaging or calling other people in an effort to try and get Emiru to talk to him, that could easily be seen as stalking and harassment. And remember, discovery means that Emiru can file a petition for Mizkif's communications with any person that she believes would likely have documentation of him stalking and harassing her, or attempting to stalk and harass her. Now, as far as the sexual assault goes, that one is probably going to be the most gray area. It's going to be very difficult, especially considering the fact that she, in her own live stream, turned around and said that she allowed him to kiss her. So it's going to be a lot more difficult to prove that it was a sexual assault and that she didn't want the situation to go the direction it was going. I'm not turning around. I'm not saying that, oh, hey, she wanted it or anything. I'm strictly talking about it from a legal standpoint. His attorneys would be able to argue that because she said it was okay for him to kiss her and that they were previously in a sexual relationship, that he would have had the belief that going further was okay. It's not, she didn't say that he like pushed her and held her down or like was ripping her clothes off or anything like that, and she was saying no. So that is going to be the most gray area. And then we have threats of blackmail. Well, I mean, we already have the fact that he admitted to going up to her, one of her employees at freaking TwitchCon, saying that if she decides to talk to me, I'm going to drop a nuke. I'm going to go after her. I'm going to destroy her. So at this point, we're like, what, 0 for 7? These slanderous accusations were made live before an audience of tens of thousands and have since been viewed by millions of times has since been viewed millions of times across various platforms. In this live stream, Emiru gives accounts of the relationship that clearly do not support the allegations she levied. That's going to be interesting to hear them argue. For example, in her own description of the purported sexual assault, again, Mind you, this is what they're going on. This is what they're harping on. This is what they're latching to. I literally just said, this is the only gray area in this whole situation. For example, in her own description of the purported sexual assault, Emiru states that she and Mizkif were kissing. He tried to initiate intercourse. She made clear she did not want to, and he stopped respecting the line that she had drawn. See, this is what I'm saying. Is Mizkif a piece of shit? Absolutely. Did he go over there simply with the intention to get it in one last time? I personally believe so. But unfortunately, when it comes to the law, this is a very gray area, especially considering the fact that she says, I let him do it. Like, he started kissing me in the face and I let him do it. And then suddenly he tried to climb on top of me and aggressively shoved his hand down my pants, and I screamed. And when I screamed, he jumped off me like a cat. This is what I'm saying, because the simple fact that she let him do it, she verifies that she allowed this to happen, the kissing. It will be a much harder thing to then say it was assault. Her being assaulted at TwitchCon, she didn't invite the guy to go over there and kiss him. She wasn't flirting with him. She wasn't, initiating it or anything of that nature, or telling him that, yeah, he could do it. That's straight up fucking assault. There was no initiation. But as far as this is concerned, the initiation started at kissing, and then she did her scream or whatever it was that she said she did. He got up and left. Makes him a piece of shit because he's trying to get it on with somebody who's fucking crying at this point. Their telling of events are different. She was crying. He was saying that we just had an argument, etc., etc. So that's the only gray area, and it's very telling that that's the only thing that they tried to dispute in the initial paperwork here. Nonetheless, she continued to defame Mizkif and portray him as a predator, as a perpetrator of sexual assault in a video she knew fully well would be viewed by millions. Now, that in and of itself would be very difficult for them to prove. How could she know it would get millions of views? And this is the reason I say this, okay? When it came to the lawsuit of Drake versus UMG, Universal Music Group, which holds Kendrick Lamar, they tried to assert that Kendrick Lamar knew that the Not Like Us track was going to go double platinum. They tried to say that he put defamatory statements in the music knowing that it was going to get worldwide recognition. And the judge in that case said, how can you even prove that? How can you prove that he knew that this song was going to be as popular as it was? How can he know that? There's no way for you to prove that. The same way here, there's no way to prove that she knew how many views that she was going to get on that video. Can you use common sense and say that if she thought about it, she knew it would get, it was a big moment in time. People were waiting on for her to say, and that she was going, it was going to get a lot of views. Absolutely. But this is court. These are statements you have to prove. You have to, not just with contextualized information, it's something that you have to prove, with more than not of reasonable doubt. It goes on to say that very same day, OTK sent Mizkif a letter perpetrating to terminate his interest in the company. OTK claimed it was entitled to do so based on the nature of Emiru's allegations. Emiru is the handle under which defendant Emiru, again, I'm blacking out all the names, operates her streaming and content creation business. OTK's letter is attached here, to as Exhibit A. Well, we should definitely take a look at that and see exactly what it is that they said. Okay, this is the tweet that was cited here. This is an official statement from OTK saying, this is a quote from Mizkif. Fuck streamers, fuck all of them, fuck everybody, fuck FaZe Clan, fuck the fourth floor, fuck OTK, fuck everybody. I'm just going to start being a solo streamer. I never needed anybody, they needed me. That's complete cope. OTK failed miserably. Nobody wanted to buy it. It didn't make sense for anyone to even purchase OTK or to run and operate OTK, so now OTK is very small. Again, this is what Mizkif said. OTK has also recently learned that you have committed additional willful breaches of your owner's agreement by violating the exclusivity requirements for your talent management representation agreement with Mythic dated January 2nd, 2023. Now, what happens in a lot of these different agreements is that they have these in these agreements, just like with Twitch, they have a basically where you have to keep a certain level of appearance. You have not an appearance of that nature, but you basically have to act a certain way. Twitch can ban you for off-stream antics, off-site antics and comments you make, because of this clause. I forget exactly what the clause is. I think it's like I forget the exact name of it, but basically I assume OTK has the same clause in their own contracts where if you do not live up to certain standards, they have the right to go ahead and terminate your employment, terminate your ownership, terminate, etc., etc. The representation agreement, representation clause. Yeah, see, specifically you engage in third-party agents to perform the agent service in direct violation of the representation agreement, resulting in you having entered into extra-contractual agreement during the term with a total estimated value of more than $4 million. So this is what it sounds like. What they're saying is that he engaged with a third party to perform at the agent's service, which is a direct violation of the representation agreement, meaning he agreed to be represented by another service, which goes against OTK's own non-other contractual agreements. That's what it's sounding like. Entered into an extra contractual agreement during the term with a total estimated value of more than $4 million. So basically getting paid $4 million by agent services, if I'm understanding this correctly. And there is, when it comes to these agreements, sometimes there's like a non-compete clause or a clause in which you're not going to be represented by anybody else other than OTK, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if that's true, and if I am understanding this correctly, they're laying out what he did to violate the terms of their agreement, which is allowing them to dismember him as a member of OTK. As you know, Mythic is entitled to its management fee under the representation agreement for each agreement entered into during the term of the representation agreement. Man, they keep saying that so much. Irrespective of whether the agreement properly reported to or negotiated by Mythic, as such, Mythic is entitled to more than $600,000 in overdue management fees. Damn. The overdue management fees relating to your extra contractual agreement made outside of the representation agreement. Ooh. In addition, Mythic is entitled to 5% interest per year on all overdue Damn. Holy shit. Fees plus costs and attorney's fees associated with enforcement of the representation agreement. Damn. So what they're saying here, from my understanding, is you owe us $600,000, and every year you're going to accrue 5% interest on those fees, plus any cost of attorney's fees associated with us enforcing this agreement. So anything so they're basically saying you owe us this money. And if we have to sue you to get this money, not only will you be paying the 5% interest, you're also going to have to pay the cost for us to sue you. That's damn. This man has shot himself in the foot. In a manner consistent with your prior misconduct, the allegations, threats, disparaging remarks, and your willful breach of the representation agreement, together the misconduct, clearly tend to injure the success of OTK, and as affiliates pose a future liability to OTK, and publicly bring OTK into dispute in addition to being offensive, vulgar, scandalous, and defamatory. So, what this is saying is that basically everything you've said and done is very clearly intended to damage and disparage the representation of OTK and everybody associated with it, which is a breach of your own contract. Not only does the Misconduct constitute the latest example of your habitual breach of your owner's agreement, including but not limited to the provisions of section 1.b.4.c.4.d.7. and the social media policy contained on Schedule I, but it sends a clear message that you do not value your relationship with the company, nor are you aligned with the company's best interests. Again, going back and saying, look, this is all the stuff you've done. And up until this point, we've completely let it go. We've been trying to reach out to you. We've been trying to talk to you. Like, this is all of the reasons why you are being disbanded from this group. So this literally is saying why he's being taken away. This didn't say, hey, bro, we saw the live stream, you're out. That's not what happened. They're saying you've breached the you've done so many different misconducts. You owe us so much money. You've broken the representation agreement. You've broken the management representation agreement. All of these different things. This is insane that he's trying to reword this in this fucking lawsuit. At the time of the first notice, the company elected to not exercise its termination and repurchase rights under the owner's agreement on behalf of KGL. See, I literally just said this. Did I not just say they saw all of the stuff he was doing previously and just were like, okay, we're going to let it slide? They literally just said, we elected to not terminate you with all of these different defamatory and breaches of contracts. Although it explicitly reserved the right to do so in the event of any future breach by you of owner's agreement. In light of the foregoing misconduct, please be advised that a majority of the board of directors have elected to terminate the owner's agreement on behalf of KGL and to purchase the entirety of your 93,1,200 vested and unvested shares of KGL in accordance with the terms of the owner's agreement effective immediately. In other words, we let it slide, but now we're not. And we're taking it all back. You will no longer render any services to KGL, nor will you be publicly affiliated with the company in any way whatsoever as such, and pursuant to Section 2D of the owner's agreement, please immediately remove all references to the company and any use of the company's IP, intellectual property, as defined therein from your social media websites and anywhere else you may indicate affiliation. As were the circumstances of OTK's previous purchase of your stock, all shares of KGL stock held by you will be repurchased on such terms and set forth in the promissory note attached hereunto as. So basically, they're saying, look, you screwed up. We let it slide the first time when you were doing all of this misconduct, and now we're not. We can't sit by and allow this to happen anymore. This, going back to the lawsuit, this letter asserted a number of purported breaches of the owner's agreement. No such breaches occurred. Okay, bro. Okay, we're gonna see what they have to say. Nonetheless, OTK asserted that it was reclaiming Mizkif's 1,109,139 shares of OTK without payment. This letter further asserted Mizkif owed amounts in excess of $600,000 to Mythic for management fees relating to purported breaches that did not occur. Again, he's going to have to prove that he did not go outside of that agreement. And if the agreement is something like basically just he can't be this piece of shit, like he has to maintain a certain amount of conduct outside of OTK or outside of anything representing OTK, it's going to be kind of difficult to do with him saying fuck all of these people. Through OTK, Mythic demanded repayment of these allegedly owned fees. Further, the letter falsely asserts Mizkif violated his agreement with King, purported to reclaim Mizkif's 93,012 shares of stock in King, and demanded payment of $296,401.92 as a result of purported breaches that again did not occur. Gonna have to prove it. I don't know what those contracts look like with OTK and King, so there's no way for me to be able to say this did or did not happen. Mythic, King, and OTK made no serious investigation or inquiry into the basis for the truth of Emiru's allegations before repudiating their agreement with the plaintiff. First and foremost, they don't have to. They literally don't have to. If he was breaking the agreement, going outside of the representation, if he was doing all of these other things, it doesn't matter if they investigated Emiru's, allegations. They don't have to. They already told you previously, as far as OTK says, we already told you, we already explained to you your misconduct previously and chose to not terminate you then. Now, since then, you have continued to engage in misconduct that goes against your own agreement that you signed. Therefore, we are terminating you. They don't have to do any level of investigation into the veracity or the truthfulness of Emiru's allegations if you're breaking the fucking contract that you signed. There's no necessity. That's just it. Indeed, Mythic, King, and OTK did not even ask Mizkif for comment. Oh, poor boo-hoo, Mizkif. Oh, they didn't ask you to freaking comment. Or any information in his possession disproving the allegations. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Mizkif could literally come out and completely prove that Emiru did lied about everything. If he is breaking or if he is in breach of the contract he signed with OTK for other reasons, it does not matter. They have the ability to terminate him if they feel so, if they want to, because he's in breach of contracts that he signed and said he would do these things and would not do these things. So even if Emiru was completely fabricating everything she said about him, it doesn't matter. He breached a contract in other areas. OTK perpetuating the defamation. Instead, a few days after Emiru's defamatory live stream, OTK perpetuating the defamation put out a statement on X that is fully supports its co-owner and sister Emiru and stands by her and admires her strength in coming forward and sharing her story. In this statement, OTK falsely claimed it had terminated its relationship with Mizkif some time ago for reasons unrelated to the recent events. Well, I wonder if that's true. Let's take a look. Okay, so here we have the tweet. OTK fully supports its co-owner and sister Emiru, and we stand by her side and admire her strength in coming forward and sharing her story. While Mizkif was one of several founders of OTK, the organization terminated its relationship with him some time ago for reasons unrelated to the recent events, and he holds no stake in OTK or any of our companies. Out of respect for those who have come forward, we will let their voices speak above ours. Well, if this is truly the case, when exactly did they send hit? I mean, because this is October 27th and she came out on the 24th. I mean, some time ago, if they sent him that letter on the 24th, 3 days isn't really some time ago. So they might be caught in a lie there, right? They might be caught in a lie there. I'm not entirely sure, All right, back to the lawsuit, y'all. AsmondGold, who streams under the handle AsmondGold, is a part owner of OTK. Since Emiru's livestream, Asmond has continuously defamed Mizkif on a near daily basis. He has claimed inter alia Mizkif should be in jail. I have no idea what inter alia is. Claimed he was abusing and manipulating others, hurting other people, and becoming an aggressor. Well, again, discovery is a hell of a thing, y'all. So if they're claiming that this isn't true, and if Asmond is able to prove that he was abusing other people and was manipulating other people, I mean, if they can legitimately prove that Emiru was abused and manipulated, then his claims is correct. Now, do they mean other people as in people other than Emiru? That's possible. And if that is the truth, then discovery could very well prove that Asmond is right about that. Again, people, anytime you get into the court system, if you got skeletons in your closet when it comes to something, discovery is there for a reason. For example, in a live stream that has since been uploaded to YouTube, where it garnered 1.9 million views as of the date of filing, Asmond stated directly that Mizkif was the aggressor and abuser in the relationship with Emiru. Asmond would then qualify his statement by saying at least allegedly, but disclaimed that disclaimer itself by saying he has to say that for legal reasons. Okay, it doesn't disclaim it. In my own okay, let me rephrase. If you're going to say, like, for legal reasons, I'm saying allegedly, it's not entirely, it does kind of, you know, there is wiggle room there. So this is definitely, if you're at this point in the video, just simply say allegedly. Don't say for legal reasons I'm saying allegedly, because that says that, you know, that has sentiment to prove that you don't believe it's allegedly, that you believe it is true. And that could very easily not go your way in court, because a judge could look at that and be like, well, you were trying to, you know, be cute with it, but we don't play that type of ball here, you know. Asmond has on a near daily basis reaffirmed the truth of Emiru's allegations before his millions of followers. Asmond also claims on his live stream that there was another, again, unspecified act of misconduct that was the reason Mizkif was removed from OTK. This is in direct contrast of OTK's own account as provided in the letter of October 20. That's not true. That's not true. I literally just read their report. I literally just read their report. What they sent to him. They said that he was in continuous misconduct and continued to go outside of the agreement, that he broke and that he breached the agreement. They didn't state exactly what it was. I mean, they did the 2.1, the 7C, et cetera, right? We don't have those agreements, so we're not entirely sure, but I'm pretty sure a lot of it is going to be like what you say, the things you do, you know, all these types of things. So it's not true. It's just not true that they basically said that their own account, right? I just read that thing. Come on, dude. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm seeing holes in this story already. Asmond falsely accused Mizkif of threatening Emiru's employees at TwitchCon, a recent streaming convention. That's not false. It's literally not false. He did that. He legitimately did that. He even said it himself. Mizkif literally admits it himself to threatening an employee of hers.
Was if she ever said anything, I would say something as well. And that's completely understandable. Can you clarify what, if anything, was said to her team at TwitchCon? I said that if she goes after me, then I will go nuclear. And that is exactly what I said. And that is what's going to happen, because you can't mess with me anymore. I don't have anything to lose. I'm sorry, I don't. Go after.
That's a threat. I don't have anything to lose. I will drop a nuke on you if you go after me. If you say anything about me, I have nothing to lose. That's a threat. That's a threat, dude. This is on your own channel. Did your lawyers look at your response? Come on. Oh my God. Asmond has enriched himself personally by advertising revenue and subscription fees garnered from his smear campaign against Mizkif. Okay, let's not sit here and pretend like he's not already a freaking multi-millionaire and anything he covers is going to make him money. He made almost 300,000 in a single month streaming on Kick. Okay, let's not pretend like anything he covers wouldn't get it. Even some of Asmond's own viewership noted he was drama baiting for views. So we're going off a chat now. That's what we're doing. In legal documentation, we're citing chat. Okay? we're citing Glub Shitto, Twitch fan 1132 as, oh my God. The combined coordinated actions of Emiru AsmondGold, OTK, Mythic, and King. God, so they're saying that all these people, Emiru AsmondGold, the industry that is OTK, Mythic, and King, came together like the fucking Avengers in an effort to discredit and defame Mizkif. Remember, guys, remember during the live stream with Vixie, I was saying that it's all ego. It's all ego. Every single time he talks, this is what happened to me. This is the way it looked. This is what your stalker did to me. It was all about him, never caring about Emiru. It's ego. And now he's saying, all of these companies, they're just out to get me. Emiru and AsmondGold are working together to come after me. I'm not saying there's not a possibility that that's true. But what I am saying is he's going to need to find some hardcore, solid evidence to prove that this was a coordinated action. And King have caused serious and lasting damage to Mizkif's personal representation and business. Since the defamation occurred, Mizkif has been losing followers and subscribers on a daily basis. That kind of happens when people find out that you are an abusive piece of shit. I mean, let's just be realistic. Now, I'm not going to turn around and say that people haven't been defamed before and have come out and proven that it was wrong. People will lose followers. Absolutely. I mean, brands will cut ties and, advertisers will cut ties 100%. But you're kind of walking a tightrope here, sir, considering the fact that she provided way more proof of your misdeeds and wrongdoings than you ever did of her. So it's not to say it's defamation. Mizkif anticipates the loss of existing sponsorships and increased difficulty in securing future sponsorships. Well, why would that be a problem? Why would that be a problem? He literally said that fuck OTK, fuck all of them. They needed me, not him. That he literally said it. So how is it a loss of what difficulty in securing future sponsorships, bro? Why would you have difficulties if all of these people, if OTK was so small and bullshit and lame and it made no sense for anyone to buy it, and you were this, big dick swinging freaking multimillionaire coming through to save the day? Why would you have such a difficulty securing sponsorships? Why would you have such a difficulty in streaming and losing revenue? You see, it doesn't really work. Yeah, it doesn't work, bro. Regretfully, the extreme nature of the misconduct here has compelled Mizkif to file suit. Bullshit. You're trying to win in court. You're trying to win public opinion via the court system. Amber tried it. Didn't go so well for her. Court 1, breach of contract. Okay. Plaintiffs incorporate the allegations of paragraphs 1 through 32 by reference as if set forth fully herein. I believe what this means is that he's basically saying that all of those paragraphs 1 through 32 is the allegations, right? OTK breached its ownership agreement with Mizkif by purporting to oust him from viewership or from ownership when no event of breach or default giving it authority to take such action had occurred. Okay. He's saying here that OTK breached its own ownership agreement with Mizkif by purporting to kick him out of his own ownership when he did not breach any of the contracts. That's what this is saying. I know it's mumbo jumbo lawyer speak, but this is what it's saying. He's basically saying you guys took away my ownership and my stock and I didn't even breach any of the contracts. I didn't do any misconduct or anything of that nature. And they're saying basically that's what giving it the authority to take such action means. Basically, he's asserting I didn't breach the contract. Therefore, you didn't have the authority to kick me out. OTK acknowledged it took no effort to investigate the alleged breaches, claiming, wait, hold on. Hold on. What do you mean investigate the alleged breaches? OTK stated in that letter that they sent to him that he was in breach of those specific parts of the agreement. So they did do an investigation. Again, we don't have the agreement, so we don't know exactly what those, what those sections and subsections mean or show. So until we see it, it's not entirely impossible for him to be correct there. But what I will say is they obviously did some investigation if they were citing those sections and subsections, claiming that in its own words that OTK is not involved in nor aware of the content of such personal matter that Mizkif or Emiru may have with each other. Acknowledged it took no effort to investigate the alleged breaches, claiming in its own words that, okay, so apparently I'm going to assume that in some of those breaches of contract or those sections and subsections that they put in the letter to him, that some of it probably had to do with like a harassment policy and assault policy, something of that nature. Okay. Nonetheless, OTK anticipatorily, Jesus, lawyers, man, breached its contract with Mizkif based on Emiru's allegations. That is, you would have to prove that. Similarly, King breached its agreements with plaintiffs by purporting to devise them from their stock in King when no breach or event or default permitting same has occurred. Again, he's basically saying Keem breached its own agreements with Mizkif prior to or without him having breached or done any misconduct. That's what he's saying. Now we're going to go to count 2, defamation by Emiru and Asmond. Plaintiffs incorporate the allegations of paragraphs 1 through 37 of the complainant as it is set forth fully herein, basically saying these are the allegations from those paragraphs against Emiru and AsmondGold. Defendants Emiru and AsmondGold have repeatedly published untrue defamatory statements concerning Mizkif to an audience of millions, painting him as a rapist, domestic abuser, and emotional abuser. Okay, domestic abuser and emotional abuser, yes. Where did the accusation of rape come in? I mean, it might potentially be because I know Asmond has reacted to some of the other people who have come out and saying that they had a sexual encounter with Mizkif that didn't go the way that they wanted it to, and so maybe AsmondGold, but I don't ever recall Emiru ever claiming that Mizkif was a rapist. These statements were made with actual malice. You're going to have to prove that, and that's a hard thing to prove. Emiru and Asmond knew at the time that they published the statements that they were false. You're also going to have to prove that. You're going to have to prove first that the statements were false in an effort to prove that they knew it was false, or to even have a leg up on proving that they knew it was false. On belief and information, Emiru and Asmond knew they stood to benefit from Mizkif's ousting from OTK and the associated companies, and coordinated the timing of their statements to maximize the injury inflicted to Mizkif. You're going to need hardcore fucking evidence for that one. You're going to need text, emails, communication, recording, something to say that they coordinated the timing of their statements, because it's very easy to turn around and just have Asmond say, okay, that this is what Asmond does. He's a commentary personnel. He reviews stuff. He's made an entire career out of reacting to things. Emiru is obviously a friend of his. Of course, he's going to turn around and react to it. And of course, he would have insider knowledge that nobody else had, that he would offer up during a reaction to the stream. Like, it would be very easy to just turn around and say that wasn't a coordinated attack. This is just the nature of the beast, the nature of YouTube, the nature of the drama cycle. Everybody's going to take a look at it. These statements have caused severe damage to Mizkif's reputation and business, and have caused severe emotional distress and mental anguish. I bet it has. Okay, I just fuck all of that. But you fuck your emotional distress and your mental anguish. Mizkif incorporate the allegations of paragraph. Okay, blah blah blah. An actual controversy exists between Mizkif, OTK, Mythic, and King concerning the purported breaches that defendants alleged Mizkif committed and the efficacy of defendants' attempts to unlawfully divest Mizkif of their interest in the company. Okay, let's boil this down. What they're saying is there is an actual controversy between Mizkif and these companies, and it's concerning the fact that they're claiming that he broke or he breached these contracts, that Mizkif breached the contracts between OTK, Mythic, and King, and they were using that breach in an effort to take the millions of dollars away from him. Mizkif is saying that, or the lawyers are saying, that's the controversy here. Did he or did he not breach these contracts? Did they have the right to take away his stock from these companies based off of him breaching the contract, or did they illegally take away these stocks from him without him breaching the contract, and they are the ones who actually breached it? An actual controversy exists between Mizkif, OTK, and Mythic concerning the amounts demanded by OTK and Mythic for unlawful management fees, which are neither due nor owing. So basically saying the actual issue is that they're claiming he owes this money and that I don't, that he doesn't, that I don't as Mizkif, right? An actual controversy between OTK concerning the wrongful accelerated promissory note, which OTK has no legal basis to make demand upon. What is that? An actual controversy exists between Mizkif and OTK concerning the wrongfully accelerated promissory note, which OTK had no legal basis to make demand upon. I don't know that one. The court has jurisdiction to issue declaratory judgment under 28 U.S.C. 2001 ETSEQ. Attorney's fees. Based on the actions of OTK, Mythic, and King, Mizkif has been forced to retain the undersigned counsel to protect his interests and his accruing legal fees. Pursuant to Texas civil practice and rem something, I think not ramification, remanding, I think maybe, code 38.001, Mizkif and Mizkif Enterprises are entitled to recover their reasonable and necessary attorney's fees. Basically saying, you guys have taken my money and you need to pay my fees, my lawyer's fees, my attorney's fees for all of this, for like this lawsuit here and everything, all the money it took, plus the retainer, et cetera, et cetera. They are further entitled to attorney's fees under Texas Civil Practice and Rem Code 37.009 in connection with the declaratory relief sought. Plaintiffs further claim any entitlement to attorney's fees that they may have at law or in equity. He's basically saying, you guys owe me for this lawsuit. Mizkif has been damaged by the acts and omissions of the defendants in the following ways. Reputational harm, kind of did it to yourself. Loss of business goodwill, also did it to yourself. Because again, he's had allegations long before Emiru. He's had a bad reputation long before Emiru. He even said in his response video, I'm an asshole. We all know I'm an asshole. I'm a terrible boyfriend. Like all of these different things. That's his own reputation. He's stating his reputation is being an asshole. Loss of business goodwill. Nobody wants to work with a fucking asshole. Nobody wants to work with somebody who has a short man syndrome like him. Loss of earnings. Well, I mean, that one, again, if you did the crime, you deserve it, right? Let's just be realistic here. And on the other hand of it too is how often does this guy stream? As far as OTK has said that he wasn't adhering to this agreed upon scheduled streaming. So it's entirely possible he lost earnings on his own, lost a future earning potential. Again, that's going to go back into the issue of if he is found that there, that he did this, or if it's more likely than not that he did this. Again, that's his own emotional distress. Fuck you. and mental anguish. Double fuck you. Conclusion and prayer, fuck all of that. I give no shits about this. Award plaintiff, blah, blah, blah. Oh, we hope you do this, yada, yada. And then it's signed off down there. Okay, guys, this has been an interesting one. Like I said, I'm not reading everything. I just want to tackle the actual complaints and the background, et cetera, et cetera. If you see some parts of this are blurred, it's probably because I may have missed, some last names that I noticed while recording this, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to do a pre-recorded, not on live. You never know. I don't want to have another KBCA or kid behind the camera situation again. That was painful. I fucked up. But anyways, this is crazy. I mean, just as a layman's person looking this over, I can see all of these different holes in the fucking declarations that they're making. The leaps and bounds that they're trying to go for. This is absolute insanity, guys. I don't understand why he thinks this is a good idea. And on top of it too, if he really thinks he could just throw his money around and win, I mean, don't get me wrong, that does happen. But out of the three of them, out of Asmond, Emiru, and Mizkif, I guarantee you AsmondGold has way more money than the other two. Like literally, he's making like almost $500,000 a month, probably more, with all of the shit he's doing combined, and he still lives like the Roach King that he is, guys. This is crazy. This is the way I see this going. Obviously, first and foremost, he's gonna get hit with an anti-slap, which basically means that they're going to ask for the case to be dismissed based off of the merit alone or the lack of merit alone. And if that doesn't happen, then obviously they're going to then turn around and start filing. They're going to start filing hearings. They're going to start filing for different ways to dismiss the case based off of certain merits, et cetera, et cetera. If this does end up going forward, you're going to start seeing petitions for information. You're going to start seeing discovery. You're going to start seeing hearings for allowing whether or not certain evidence is going to be allowed. Then of course there's going to be hearings for what will fall under discovery, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to be honest, I don't think this is making it to court. I think that he is going to try and settle. I think he's going to be the first person to try and settle. I think that if they do file the anti-slap lawsuit, they have a very good chance of winning it, due to the fact that he is specifically stating that OTK was not within their right to fire him, and that they only fired him because of Emiru's allegations. I think specifically because they harped on that so much. If OTK has the ability to prove to the judge that they fired him with examples, obviously, for the misconduct, for the breach of certain contracts, this lawsuit's over. This lawsuit's gone. It's done. And that's kind of the problem when you put all of this stuff on. And if you lose one aspect of it, you can lose the entire fucking case, because this case is being brought upon, this lawsuit is being brought upon OTK, Kings, and Mythic, due to the fact that he's saying, you guys didn't fire me because I'm a piece of shit. You fired me because of some allegations. And if they can turn around and say, no, judge, look, he broke this contract, which clearly states he can't do X, Y, and Z. And here is a video. Here's multiple videos of him doing X, Y, and Z. So I think, first and foremost, anti-slap. If it makes it past the anti-slap, there's going to be a multiple different hearings. And if it does make it past the anti-slap, don't think it's a W. It's not a big win for Mizkif. It's there's oftentimes, when people can sue you for getting injured while breaking into your home and they get past the anti-slap, it's not a big W. But I think that, I don't think this is going to go forward. I think he's going to try and he's going to be the first one to ask for a settlement. He's going to learn just how bullshit this is and how bad this is. And he's probably going to end up dropping the lawsuit within like 5 months. That's the way I see this going. Now, if I'm wrong and this does go to court, I think we're going to learn a lot about a lot about the people involved here, like OTK, King, Mythic. I think we're going to learn a lot about those industry or about those companies that they probably never wanted to be out there. I also think we're going to learn a lot about Emiru and AsmondGold and Mizkif that none of them wanted to get out there. Again, discovery is a hell of a thing, y'all. Discovery is a hell of a thing. It is a very dangerous thing to file a lawsuit or to go to court, because every little thing you've ever done could very easily hit the light of day. I have Kmplxity with a lasting opinion, bringing you guys the Mizkif versus everybody, it would seem, lawsuit. Go ahead, leave a like, leave a comment down below. Shout out to Decentralized Info for sending me the links. Shout out to everybody covering this. Shout out to all of you amazing and lovely people. Appreciate every last one of you. I have Kmplxity. You guys have a wonderful rest of whatever time of day it is. I'll see you in the next one.
From zero to hero, we rise up tall. Till we cover them.